Have you ever noticed how people seem to have different opinions about Crocs? Some people seem to love them and some people hate them. It's almost like they evoke strong emotions one way or another. Well, there could be a reason for that. And in this video, I want to share with you why. I think it's actually quite brilliant, so let's dig into it. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you know that we talk about biomechanics of the foot and lower leg. So we're going to approach this topic from a medical perspective. So let's get started. Now, when most people see Crocs, they probably think of these classic foam clogs. They come in many colors and they're extremely popular with gardeners, people who work around water, people who work in food preparation, and also just people who don't care what they look like while walking through the airport. What do they remind you of? Exactly. For me, they remind me of an old surgical shoe. Let me explain. In the hospital, doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers are required to wear special shoes. These shoes are completely closed in so that bacteria cannot get in, and they're usually made of some sort of plastic material. That's because bacteria gets into the hospital through tiny little cracks in our shoes. And so those cracks can allow bacteria to enter the patient. And that's something we try to avoid at all costs. So we end up wearing these big, ugly shoes inside the hospital, and they kind of feel like Crocs. They're easy to put on and take off. They're closed in, and they're made of a similar type of foamy material. Why am I talking about this? Well, because Crocs are basically the same thing. You can even buy them in the healthcare section of stores like Amazon. But you can also buy them in the shoe aisle or the gardening section. So what is the difference between these two types of Crocs? The gardening and shoe store Crocs don't have the little ventilation holes on the top of them, and the ones you get in the medical section do. So why would that be? Why would they need those holes? Well, remember how I said that bacteria can get in through tiny cracks in the shoe? Well, if your shoes were completely closed in, but then you had these little gaps right here, those little ventilation holes, those become new cracks for bacteria to get in through. So if you're working in a sterile environment and you need to have completely closed-in shoes, then you would get the Crocs without the holes. But if you're working outside and you don't need them to be completely sealed, then you would get the ones with the ventilation holes. Now, why do I think it's so brilliant that they make Crocs both ways? Well, it has everything to do with control of your foot musculature. The muscles of the foot and lower leg are responsible for controlling how your foot functions during walking and running. And we can control those muscles by applying pressure to the bottom of our feet and our toes. This is called ground reaction forces. When we put our feet down on the ground, our muscles send signals to our brain based on the pressure that's being applied to the bottom of our feet. Our brain uses that information to figure out where our foot is in space and how it's moving. That allows us to adjust how we walk and run to keep ourselves upright. But here's the problem. If we never put our feet on the ground, or if we're always wearing shoes that cover up the entire foot, well, then our muscles don't receive the signals they need to function properly. So what happens is our muscles begin to weaken. And when our muscles weaken, our ability to balance weakens as well. The muscles of the foot are especially important for helping us balance and move over our big toe. In fact, most babies learn to walk by first cruising along on their big toes. But as we age, these muscles tend to get weaker and weaker, which is one of the reasons older people fall down so much. This is where the brilliance of the Croc design comes in. Remember, Crocs are designed to be worn outside by people who need to apply ground reaction forces to the bottom of their feet. Those ventilation holes aren't just there for aesthetics or to improve ventilation. They're actually there to allow you to feel the ground. So you can feel the pressure on the bottom of your feet. When you're walking or running in Crocs, you were able to feel the ground underneath you much more so than if you were wearing shoes that covered up the entire foot. It's kind of like wearing flip-flops. Flip-flops allow you to feel more of the ground than wearing sneakers. However, there are a couple of problems with flip-flops. First of all, they're very simple to slip on and take off, which makes it easy for the foot to slide forward in the shoe while walking. As you take a step, your foot slides forward and then you have to stop it from sliding any further by lifting your toes. If you don't lift your toes, then your foot will continue to slide forward and eventually you'll trip and fall. So if you're going to wear flip-flops, then you need to make sure that you pull them tight enough that your foot doesn't slide forward. The other problem with flip-flops is that they don't offer any arch support, so they allow the foot to collapse inward while walking. That collapsing motion causes the foot to roll inward as you take a step, which creates a shearing force across the knee. Over time, this can cause the knees to become knocked in. You can see this happen in kids who wear flip-flops all the time. Most of the time, they'll develop knock knees. Crocs don't have these problems. They stay on the foot pretty well. And since they're closed in on the sides, they prevent the foot from collapsing inward while allowing you to still feel the ground. That's why Crocs are great for walking and running and standing for long periods of time. They allow you to apply ground reaction forces to the bottom of your feet, which helps strengthen the intrinsic muscles of the feet and prevents muscle imbalances with the lower leg. I know what you're thinking. Who cares about strengthening the muscles in my feet? I just want to feel comfortable while I'm wearing shoes. Well, it turns out that stronger, more balanced muscles in the foot and lower leg actually lead to feeling more comfortable in your shoes. And it can also help you avoid things like plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, shin splints, stress fractures, and bunions. All of these painful conditions are often caused by weak, imbalanced muscles in the foot and lower leg. Now, there are other benefits to wearing Crocs. For example, they're extremely lightweight, so they don't add any extra weight that you have to lift while walking. And that can be beneficial for people who have mobility issues. I also like that they come in a variety of different styles. There are elevated heels, flats, loafers, sandals, wedges, boots, everything you could ever want. And they're also available in a variety of different materials, including some that are more breathable. On top of that, they're machine washable, which is nice for people who get them dirty at work. They're also waterproof, so you can wear them while you garden in the rain or snow. And they're also non-porous, which means that they won't absorb water or any other liquids. This makes them ideal for people who work around water or who might accidentally spill something on their feet. People have a strong emotional response to Crocs because they were either aware of the importance of strengthening the muscles of the feet or they were not. If you're not, then you were probably wondering why on earth would someone want to wear those ugly foam things on their feet? But if you understand how important it is to maintain the strength of the muscles of the foot, then you can see how brilliant the Crocs design is. If you want to learn more about what causes flat feet, bow legs, knock knees, and how shoes and other factors can play a role in that, click on the playlist on the screen now. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. We linked to a reasonably priced pair of basic Crocs for you to consider in the description section of this video. Take care and happy feet!